I was probably at my peak around there. FIFA 13, 14. I would definitely say I can't see anyone else being better than me than I was at that game. I was so damn good on FIFA 14. And then I think the PS4 came and FIFA 15. That's when it kind of died out in Sweden. FIFA 16 too, no tournaments. I wasn't really playing that much. Just a few tournaments, and then FUT Champions came in FIFA 17, and I noticed that I was finishing like top 25 every weekend, and I was like, I was ready to give my FIFA career up, because there were no tournaments, and then it's when EA started, stepping up, and I finished second in the world in the November month, I think, yeah. So I qualified for Paris as one of, I think we were 16 players in total, but only 12 players went through in the leaderboard. So you have to be top 12 monthly in your region to get through. And then I came to Paris, and number 1, 2, 3 on the leaderboard got seated in the same group. Yeah. So it was me. What was it called? He was called Bruma by then. What's it called? Aigun, the Dutch player. And then Chian, German player, who eventually won the entire thing on PlayStation. And then you had the French PS4 champion that won like a wild card to the tournament. 4 of us in one group, best of one game. You got to play 3 games. You started at 8 in the morning in Paris, and then 45 minutes later, I was knocked out. Such a crazy format. People are complaining these days about the format. It was so bad back then. And then I qualified for Munich and stuff. But I mean, then FIFA 18 came, and I just hated that game, and that's when it started going downhill, right?
For sure, dude. I remember those 17 tournaments because I really, really had fun watching them. But I always thought, like, yo, this is harsh. Like, you fly all the way here and you have like a World Cup style. It's like the World Cup in football. You play your opponent once, but it's 90 minutes. Like, it's a lot more in real life. You have 50-minute games, best of one. I was like, this is terrible, man. Especially the playoffs, man. Everyone who made it out of those and made it to the playoffs, it was the same format in playoffs. Imagine getting to the playoffs, you get knocked out in 45 minutes in the group. No, man.
It was crazy, and especially like I lost the first game 2-1 because he scored 2 goals on corners, and the second one he scored in the 92nd minute. Yeah. And I lost the first game in a group stage. It's pretty much over unless you win 2 other games. So because of those 2 corners, I mean, it will cost me a lot of money and probably prestige and possibly even contracts. A
lot of clout. Those tournaments blew people up like I've never seen.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun though going there, but I definitely felt like I was a lot better than my results in that tournament. I failed to qualify for the Spanish, the one in Madrid. I think it was Madrid that year. It was Barcelona, maybe.
It was Madrid.
It was Madrid. Yeah, I was 1 win away, and I think I lost like 6 games on penalties that month, which was kind of harsh too. But during the meantime, I became a Scandinavian champion too, beating great players. So that was probably the peak of my career. I was really, really good back then. I had a lot of fun playing, and there was a lot of traveling that year. I got to go to Vancouver. It was very exclusive. I think it was me, Boras, and Mike and Age. We went to Vancouver, the 4 of us. Before FIFA 18, and if you did not like FIFA 18, you should have seen the game in this alpha stage. If somebody lifted a through ball, like an L1 triangle ball, you could not sprint with your defender. You would just pass it over to your striker, and he would like outrun the defender because you couldn't sprint. And I was like, hey guys, we got this problem here. I can't sprint with my defender. And they were like, oh, okay, we'll take a look at that. So it's a mess. Like when you go down and you play the versions, like alpha versions of the game is so broken that you don't even have time to talk about the foundation, the basics of football that are not in the game. There's just so much to say about the game, but they want you to be looking for bugs, and they just have this very different vision to what FIFA should be than most of us who are thinking about the game do.
Yeah, how was I mean, I don't know how much you can say, but like, how was that experience in general of going to Vancouver? Nice place, and then like, was it because you mentioned that, was it actually satisfying to like help, or was it more like you said, because you can't even get to the nitty gritty of what you want to talk about? It was a bit frustrating to sort of play
It's
that
a, it's
early version.
it's amazing. I mean, I'm very grateful to get the opportunity to do that. It's frustrating and nice at the same time.
Yeah,
I love to hear about everything, but I do realize at the same time that I don't have any power whatsoever to change this kind of stuff.
yeah,
It's all coming down to how good I am at debating this, and my opinion is worth as much as any random person who's buying the game because they want to make money, and which is not that great. So like I remember when they told me before I went there again before FIFA 20 with a lot of other game changers, and they were saying like, "Hey, we want to try to slow the gameplay down a little bit. We want it to be more realistic." That's
hmm
their approach to the game. I mean, I don't want to say too much, but their mentalities, they want it to be very realistic. But I'm like, yeah, you can do that all you want when it comes to the tempo, but people are still finishing first post, and they have been for the last 4 years. So don't come here and say that you want this game to be realistic if people are still finishing first post. It's it's absolutely ridiculous, and nobody's even mentioning. I haven't seen anything on Twitter this year about anyone criticizing first post finishing, for example. It's one of the biggest problems in the game right now. That's why it's impossible to be defending most of the time. I mean, like, I don't care about the AI blocks and stuff. I mean, that happens in real life. You shoot in front of a defender, he's going to block it most of the time. But a shot in the first pose should not go in. It's easy
yeah.
as that.
There's a lot of angles, and I remember how upset I was about it last year.
Yeah. Before
But
FIFA 20, right?
oh yeah, dude. It
Yeah.
Because like you said, it changes the scope of defending to a level that is unimaginable. But I think a lot of people don't mention it because they don't view it as an actual like sport of football. It's like, get the ball in there, that's the video game, right? And I find it funny because they want to slow the game and make it realistic, which is fair enough. That's their target, to make the best simulation they can. But the irony of the matter is that because a lot of people tell me, Stallion, what do you want, arcade or simulation? And I'm like, it's not black or white, because at the end of the day, we used to have more arcadey games in terms of speed and just the feel, but they were more realistic in execution. These games
Yeah.
might be slower, but the execution of what you need to do is more arcade than it's ever been. So I feel
Exactly.
like
It's not
there's
about
yeah,
it's not about that. Like, people are focusing on animations. Oh, you should not be shooting that way. Like, it's not about that. It's about, like, is this a good position to be shooting? You're turned the wrong way and you're shooting first post. Nobody's even saying anything about that. We're talking about like passes going straight through the midfield. Like, the AI is absolutely ignoring it, and then everyone's like, AI defense is OP. No, it's not. They're useless when it comes to intercepting passes and stuff. And as you're saying, even though the animations might look worse back in FIFA 17, for example, it's just way more realistic in the way that it plays, because you couldn't just bang it in the first post. The goalkeeper would save it, which led to the defending being very different to what it is right now. And just that sole reason makes FIFA 17 a whole lot more realistic than FIFA 21. Just
yeah,
because of that tiny little thing. It could be patched. You could patch it right now, and FIFA 21 would change so much.